D-Mace, Finnegan, and Donick 102.5. The Game, broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, and David James with you. We are live at the Circa Sportsbook inside the Mint Gaming Hall in Franklin, Kentucky. Head on up here, I should say, if you are looking for a place to watch Monday Night Football, Lions at Ravens tonight. Plus, find out more details on how to win a trip to Las Vegas to watch the Titans play the Raiders next month. I also want to introduce and welcome our new presenting sponsor, Bax Homeworks. Bax Homeworks transforms kitchens, bathrooms, and living spaces into places you can't wait to come home to. You can visit them at baxhomeworks.com. All right. Titans lose. We know that already. You lived it. We lived it. We wasted our afternoon. Some of you went to the game. As I was watching the game yesterday, guys, I thought to myself, if you listen to this station, if you drive around Nashville, you see plenty of advertisements and billboards for personal injury law firms. And Titans fans, especially those of you who actually went to Nissan Stadium yesterday, I think you are entitled to compensation for pain and suffering for having to pay for and or watch this crap. Plain and simple. Derek, you have been uncharacteristically quiet today, which concerns me because you are usually blowing up our text chain. And you said that you were marinating in your thoughts.
I would use the word simmering.
Simmering is also a good word.
Marinating. I felt like there was a little more hot, like simmering.
Marinating, simmering, whatever synonym you want to use, boiling over. So I am prepared to just hand it off to you in just a moment.
Mm-hmm.
But yet again, and this is what we are going to discuss pretty much the entire show. And we want to hear from you immediately. 615-737-1025. Our phone and text lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Brian Callahan looks out of his depth as an NFL head coach. It happened again yesterday. You all saw it. In case you didn't, let's quickly recap what happened at the end of the first half before I turn it over to Derek Mason. It's late in the second quarter. The Colts are up 17-6 after missing a long field goal. The Titans run 5 consecutive run plays for Tony Pollard. 2 before the 2-minute warning, 3 after the 2-minute warning. The Colts take a timeout to stop the clock. Then the Titans immediately take a timeout right after that. Despite all of that, the Titans get called for a delay of game on the ensuing field goal attempt. Pushes them back 5 yards. Joey Sly misses from 62 yards. Colts have better field position. They hit a field goal as time expires. By the way, Titans lose 41-20. So yet again, we have another example of Brian Callahan, as I said before, looking out of his depth as an NFL head coach. Derek Mason, your thoughts?
Wow. Some of the same things showed up again that showed up in the last game or the game before that. His inability to coach at critical points of the game. That was a critical point in the game. And yes, you got to start stronger. I just want some conviction in what he does. Damn it, just do it. Don't hesitate. Don't go back. Damn it, just make the call. You the head coach. Just make the damn call. If you don't kick a field, your kicker has proven he has a strong leg. Why the hell are you debating this? Either go for it or let the kicker go out there and kick. Okay, you didn't let him kick. They call a timeout, I believe. Yeah, they called a timeout. The Indianapolis Colts called a timeout. So you had damn near a minute to figure out what in the hell you were going to do. In a minute, damn near. You had really a minute because you had the 30 seconds or the 45 seconds for the timeout, and then you had about 10 seconds before you even had to go out there to kick the field goal to decide what you wanted to do. But you didn't. And because of that indecisiveness, You cost your team 5 yards. You, once again, cost your team 5 yards. Push your kicker back. He ends up missing a 62-yard field goal. You would have had it had you just made a decision to either go for it, or if you go for it, you don't make it. The fan base is like, all right, you tried. You were aggressive. You kick a field goal. Some are upset, but you make it. Fans can't be too mad. You go into halftime, hopefully, and don't allow them to score. There are some fans that are a little, uptight, but for the most part, they're like, okay, we got some points. But you didn't do either of that. And then you allowed them to score points. Once again, doing dumb stuff to hurt the team. You talk about players doing that, and we pointed out each and every time, players doing dumb stuff to hurt the team. Well, what about the coach or the coaches? What about those people that do things to compromise what you're doing out there on the field? Then what? Who do you go to? There's been 2 weeks now, 2 out of the 3 weeks. I can say, along with everybody else, it's clear as day that you were the cause of points being scored against you. You, the head coach, because of the decision you chose to make, or the indecisiveness which caused you a penalty, and then you still wanted to run the man out. If you have enough confidence for him to kick a 62-yard field goal, why the hell did you have to think about it kicking a 57-yard field goal? Why? Why did you have to think about it? If you rushed him out there to kick that 62-yard field goal, why didn't you just send him out there to kick that 57-yard field goal? That's what I don't understand. Those are the things that make people come up with their own conclusions. You're not a good coach. I'm still not going there. I'm still not going there to say he's not a good coach. But man, oh man, you are sure enough making it look as if you're not a good coach. You are making it seem as if this job is way above your pay grade. And they're paying you a lot of money. And even with that, you act as if this is way above your pay grade at times. That's what the fan base is thinking. That's what they are thinking. He can't get the job done.
Willie, before we get your thoughts, I want to hear from Brian Callahan. Brian Callahan, of course, was asked about this unfortunate series of events after the game yesterday. So let's hear from Brian Callahan first, then we'll get Willie's thoughts. This was Brian Callahan discussing his decision-making yesterday after the game.
Right, the delay game before halftime.
Yeah, we went back. I was going back and forth, but we were talking about going for it or kicking it, and that's a kick that Sly's made, and a chance to make it a 17-9 game in that moment. It's a hindsight thing. If you go for it and get it, great. If you go for it and don't, then you're in the same spot. And thought we had a chance to get points there. Sly's been really reliable from deep. He's a bit of a weapon for us, and he's been that way thus far in this season. And then we went to kick it, and they were waiting for some operational things to uncover, and just like to go faster. It obviously had no intention to take a delay game there. Didn't want that to happen. Obviously, looks really bad at the end of the day, and that was not the intention to do that. So wanted to be able to kick it.
Why don't you call timeout there?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, don't you know what you're doing? Shouldn't you have your personnel on the field?
Yeah, certainly. We were going back and forth and wanted a minute to think about it. I was going back and forth between the 4th down call and the field goal, and decided to go take points in that particular situation. And, the operational part of it to kick it on time didn't happen.
What's the benefit of having your offensive personnel on the field after the timeout?
Because I hadn't decided yet at the moment on what we're going to do.
I mean, how could you have their timeout, your timeout, and still not have decided?
Like I said, we were having a couple different conversations about it, and ultimately that was a decision we made.
What kind of message do you think that sends? Like not going for it on 4th and not going for it. What message that sends to your team?
I don't know. I don't know what message that sends. I was trying to take points and make it a 17-9 game at the half. That was my intent. So I don't know.
It's a terrible exchange. It's a terrible exchange.
That exchange right there, when Teron says, "What does that?" I don't. And his response is, "I don't know."
Look, he was rattled.
Yeah,
right
he was spiraling. The job is too big, and I hate to say it, because I purposely on Mondays I don't listen to anything because I want to have look at what I look at. I want to have my own sort of idea of what I want to say. I don't want it to be tainted by anything that I'm hearing. So I didn't hear any of this. That right there, if I'm an owner, I'm saying we need to talk tonight. That right, we need to talk to. I'm not saying I'm firing you, but we need to talk tonight. You can't give me an answer for what message that sends to your team. You are out of your depths, buddy.
Well, let me take it back, because it goes so much further to me, to that whole exchange, which was awful. He made it even worse with the how he handled the questions. But let's talk about basic football in this day and age, right? I'm not talking about 1990s where it was more archaic. It had been back then. It would be more, are we punting?
Yes. Are we punting?
Or are we going for it?
Yeah.
Right? Or the kicking a 57-yarder probably wasn't in the cards back then. But in the days, now that we know what we know about analytics, when you are, this is again goes back to the theme. They hired this guy to be a coach and a play caller. When it is 3rd and 2, you have to know, are you going for it on 4th down or not? That's when the decision gets made, not after it gets to 4th and 1. There should be no indecision. It's, hey, we got 2 plays to get this 3rd and 2. Am I right? Wrong,
No,
teammates?
no, you're right. You're right.
That should be the decision. It should be over. The next play should be going in, especially when you're the play caller. It's 3rd and 2, and you have not decided what you're doing on 4th. It's 17-6. If it were 13-13 and your defense is playing well, I mean, forget about all that other stuff. But you can't stop the Colts. Field goals aren't going to beat the Colts.
No. You
have to go for it there. But the decision-making process has to be made on 3rd and 2, not on 4th and 1 in this, hey, I'm not sure. Hey, let's go back and forth. Let's talk about it. You don't have time to talk about it. Look, I have tried. You know me, I am trying to create a lane because I don't think it's good for Cam Ward to have what has happened. We have chronicled a dozen situations in recent pro football history where if you pull the plug on all of the terminology, you bring a new guy in, it is not good for the quarterback. And this is coming from a guy that said they shouldn't have even picked the quarterback. They should have taken the picks, which is looking more and more like what they should have done, especially when you look at what's happening with the Giants. Heck, they could have had 2 top 5 picks. But let's put that aside. I'm trying to help this guy out, but he is not making it easy for the people that are just trying to say, look, I don't know if the guy's a great coach or not, but historically, it is awful when you have to switch the coach and the play caller and the offensive system for a young quarterback who, by the way, has no talent around him. This is a tough job. They do not have personnel to win. So you cannot compound things on top of it by making basic mistakes. That was a debacle. I was measured about how they handled the end of the first half in Denver. They messed it up. It could have been a lot better, but this was way worse to me in the situation you're in.
Yeah.
You have nothing to lose. It's 17-6. If you go for it and you get stuffed, hey,
we went for it.
It's 4th and 1. If it were 4th and 4 and you had a chance to kick a 57-yarder, okay, I could see that. Or 4th and 6, sure. 4th and 1, down 17-6 is a no-brainer. But as you said, D-Mace, if you make up the decision 3rd and 2, we get this, we're going. If we don't get it and it's 4th down, we're kicking.
Exactly.
That's okay. You made the decision, and we can second guess that. I wouldn't have agreed with that, but at least you made the decision. The decision has to be made on 3rd down, not during a timeout, not while the thing's going on. You don't have that was terrible.
When we discussed Brian Callahan's status last week, we all agreed that there is a low ceiling on how far a head coach can take a roster that is this bereft of talent. But the issues Callahan is having are independent of the personnel. He does not appear to have a feel for the game or know the rules in one instance in Denver. And therein lies the issue. We know that even the best coaches would struggle to squeeze success out of the roster that the Tennessee Titans have right now. But Brian Callahan has been a detriment to the Tennessee Titans at least twice in 3 weeks in terms of games. 2 of the 3 games, Brian Callahan has done something that has put the Tennessee Titans in a terrible situation. So I'm like the both of you. I know Robbie Stanley said it plainly today. Brian Callahan needs to be fired. It's incredibly difficult to even come up with a articulate, simple, I don't even know what word to use, defense of Brian Callahan, because there is none.
Well, the defense of Brian Callahan is continuity. It's what's best for Cam Ward.
But continuity, to borrow something else from Robbie Stanley, continuity for the sake of continuity is not a solution. If the Titans think that Brian Callahan is going to negatively affect Cam Ward, you got to get him out of here. And it doesn't appear that's going to be the case yet, because he did his news conference today, and he appears to be headed to Houston this weekend. And talk about a high pressure situation for Brian Callahan, going to Houston of all places with an 0-3 start. Let's quickly go to Michael on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Michael, thank you for holding. Please go ahead.
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call. We see the memes and the jokes about, Kirk Cousins can't perform in prime time. It seems to be the same thing with Callahan when it comes to the 2-minute drill at the end of the half. If every single game we've played so far, he's just botched something. With the Rams specifically, we score that touchdown to tie it up. We get the interception off of Matthew Stafford. Immediately an amazing field position to possibly go up 17-10 at the half. And there's just something about him. He's just so conservative, even when we have all the momentum in the world, that he just wants to play for the field goal no matter what. And I really don't understand why. I just don't get it. I was out on him after the first game. I'm even more out on him after this one. But just to at least get a little bit of levity with Vanderbilt, I can't believe I'm saying this, but at least we have Vanderbilt football to root for in this city right now. Anchor down.
4 o'clock.
And Michael, 4 o'clock, Clark Lee on the program. So be tuning in at 4 o'clock to hear Clark. 4 o'clock. How about that? Should we call it 4 o'clock?
4 o'clock.
Let's call it 4 o'clock. Okay. I fumbled my way into a segment title. 4 o'clock. There we go. Clark Lee will join the program at 4 o'clock. 615-737-1025. We see your calls. We see your texts. We will get to them next. If you want to get in on this, 615-737-1025. Our phone and text lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. I love a fired up Derek Mason. I especially love a fired up Willie Donick. That doesn't happen very often. But a member of the Indianapolis Colts said something yesterday that I cannot wait to see Derek Mason's reaction to what this Colts player said. And we will do that coming up next, because once again, this is another indictment of Brian Callahan as an NFL head coach. We'll get to that next. 615-737-1025. Mondays were made for Macero. Big screens, bold flavors, and all the football action from queso to kickoffs. This is how Macero does game night. Macero Football Mondays in 12th South. Don't miss a snap.
Okay, let's tell you about F&M Bank. Banking made easy on purpose. Take It to the Bank takes place every Friday afternoon at 5:45 to end the week. It's always a lot of fun, and it's brought to you by F&M Bank. They've got your needs taken care of. Here we are just across the border in the state of Kentucky, and it's interesting that that's the case, because F&M Bank, as I tell you often, has 20 locations in our listening area, including up here in the state of Kentucky in Hopkinsville, not far from where we are. They also have 6 over in Clarksville, and they've got them scattered throughout, right in the middle of your hometown, whether it's Mount Juliet, Springfield, and of course, Murfreesboro, Nashville, some of the bigger ones. They've got it covered. Just go to myfmbank.com and find the nearest one to you, and then find out how they can take some of the load off of you financially with the tools that they have for success. myfmbank.com is the website. We take it to the bank every Friday at 5:45. It's F&M Bank, member FDIC.
Ready for it.
Yeah, Hecker has 16 completions.
Delay game on the
man.
offense. That's a 5-yard penalty. Fourth down.
That's terrible. And I know it's still within his range, but you're making life a little harder now, aren't you?
It's absolutely unacceptable. The fans are booing, and they should be. I don't know what happened. Hecker, the holder, was trying to get them to reset the play clock. But we just went Colts timeout, Titans timeout, Titans delay a game on a field goal attempt. That might be a first.
They may have had the wrong football out on the field. This is going to be the longest. This could be the longest field goal in Titans history. It's a 62-yarder from the near hash mark. Good snap, good hole. Kick is on its way. It was deflected. It's going to be off to the left. It was deflected by Grover Stewart, who got his hand up. And the fans are not going to be happy about this.
And now the Colts get the ball where they missed it.
And the ball to start the second half.
It takes a lot for the CBS crew or the Fox crew, most NFL broadcasting crews, to be that openly critical of a team's decision making. But you couldn't help it in that situation. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you live at the Circus Sportsbook inside the Mint Gaming Hall in Franklin, Kentucky. Head up here if you are looking for a place to watch Monday Night Football. You can also find out more details on how to win a trip to Las Vegas to watch the Titans play the Raiders next month. And fortunately, there are also a lot of other fun things to do in Las Vegas. So you can win the trip and maybe you don't go to the game. Who knows? But you can come up here and find out details on that giveaway. Before we get to something that I can't wait to get Derek's reaction to this. But before we get to that, let's go to William, who has been waiting patiently on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. William, thank you for waiting. Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. I just want to say, this is a question for Derek. Do you think that the Titans with Callahan, do you think it's a thing? Because I've sort of felt since I've seen him, his first press conference and everything, that maybe the players wouldn't respect him and sort of fear him the way a coach should be feared in the way that they should be feared. And another thing I want to say to the last caller, I'm going to give a shout out to the team, the real team of the state of Tennessee, the Volunteers. Go Big Orange.
Thank you, William.
So he had to one up him.
Yes.
Say. But the difference is that Vandy's undefeated.
That's true. And again, it's going to be
UT's a damn good football.
They're on collision course. We're going
Yeah.
to find some things out in Knoxville a little later in the season.
4-0 Clark, which I stumbled on as a. I'm going to have to ask Clark if he likes that.
I think he
4-0
will.
Clark.
I think he will.
We'll talk to the undefeated head coach.
It's flexible when he
at least
comes
this
on.
season.
You know, it's flexible. when he
Yes,
comes on.
it's at some point during the 4 o'clock hour.
It don't matter as long as he come on.
Anyway, your response to the caller.
As far as
like the fear is an interesting one to me.
I don't think there's it's not fear, it's disrespect. It's respect that you have for your coach. It's not a fear of anything. It's just you have respect for your head coach, so you're going to do things a certain way. You're going to make sure you're doing the things that you have control over. If he's asking you to do something to help better the team, you respect him, so you do it.
Let's use an example of fear.
Yeah.
All right. And I had a coach that I don't fear him today at all, but there was a little bit of fear, and not of, he's, going to scare you in the middle of the night or anything like that kind of fear, but there was a stickler for detail, right? Let's use some examples of other things that are happening to the Titans. Have they lined up wrong a few times? Yep. Have they had illegal motion? Yep. That is the kind of thing that my coach, and I'm talking about Eddie Fogler for Vanderbilt basketball, we would run every time somebody on our team would do something like that, stuff that was controllable. There was you knew it would go off in your mind. Your head would say, I cannot not box out Derek. If I don't box out Derek, everybody's going to stop practice. Donick, no box out. Everybody on the line, down and back. 10 seconds, whatever. That's what I'm talking about. It doesn't have to be. There's a lot of methods on how you get that attention to detail. But again, I have been sitting here going, I don't want you to have to move on from Brian Callahan because they're going to lose. They're going to lose games. But that's the kind of thing I cannot defend that. There's too many times that's happening in a game.
That's where, again, coaches have this idea, this template of how they want their team to be. They have this roadmap and, things that they want to accomplish and how they want their team to look. You are the architect of it, but you got to have people your idea has to be felt throughout the locker room. So you got to have people that promote what you're trying to get out of your team. He's trying to promote, the culture of the team. So when you do that, when you have enough of those guys in the room that is, buying into what the coach said, that's because new coaches, I mean, first or second year coaches, they're still trying to get you to buy into what they're doing. You got to have veteran guys that make sure that everybody else buys in. And it's not, and I said that because it's not a fear of the coach. When you have respect of a coach and there's a buy-in, those other people, they're not afraid of the coach. They're afraid of disappointing me as a veteran guy.
That's the best way to have it happen.
They're afraid like coach ain't gonna be in the room, in the wide receivers room when we go in there by ourselves. That's the time where we family now. Now I'm gonna chew you out because I can do it in this setting. They don't want that disappointment. Those young, especially those young guys, they don't want that type of disappointment where I'm disappointing the veteran guys because they're working damn hard to set a culture here, and I'm disappointing the veteran guy. Not let alone the coach, it's the guys in the locker room.
After the Colts defeated the Titans 41-20, our friend of the station, Jeremy K. Gover, went into the Colts locker room. Michael Pittman was answering questions, and Jeremy got this response from Michael Pittman, which has spread around the internet. And I want to know what Derek Mason thinks upon hearing what Michael Pittman had to say about the Titans even before the game started. Here is that clip.
When you hear the crowd turn on your home team like that, just in general, not necessarily here specifically, is there a blood in the water type mentality for you guys? I mean, every team, every coach, they're all looking for any kind of advantage they can get. I would think that'd be one of them.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of seen it on the pregame intros. They kind of looked a little sluggish. They're kind of walking around, and nobody was really bouncing. And right then and there, like we all sat there and we're like, they don't want to play today. And I think that's how we found our edge today. Is just mentally we thought that we wanted to play more than they did.
That was Michael Pittman after the game. Thanks to our friend Jeremy K. Gover for providing the audio. Derek, you played 15 years in the NFL. I don't think anybody ever questioned your work ethic. Now, Brian Callahan was asked about that today, and he said, paraphrasing, when you win as decisively as the Colts did against the Titans, you can say those sorts of things, but did not put too much stock into what Pittman said. But I've been waiting since I saw this quote from Gover roughly 24 hours ago. I've been waiting to hear what you have to say. Now, we only have about 3 minutes until we have to go to break, so try to sneak it in there. But I want you to take as much of that time to react to what Pittman just said.
It's disappointing, and the way they played, I believe it's true. It's disappointing, and by the way that they played, I think it's true. Because
give the example on the first play of the game.
And you're absolutely right, Willie.
Because I didn't see it. You mentioned
it was the pass. It was the second play. I think it was the second play. The first play was the run play. It was the second play, I believe.
So the play before the interception.
Yes, play before the interception. Ward throws an out route. I think it was the second play. He throws a 7-yard out.
2nd and 9 from the 36.
Yep. He throws a 5 to 7 yard out. Hit your foot at 5 or 4 and roll to 7. The ball was incomplete. And I'm looking at it on the screen like, man, he threw that like it was. He just the throw didn't match the route. I'm like, did somebody run it? Did he throw it too soon? He was supposed to. What happened here? And then I went back and looked at the R22 this morning, and I looked at it 3 times because I'm like, man, I know I'm not seeing what I think I'm seeing. At least it is the beginning of the game too. I saw Calvin Ridley run a 5 to 7 yard out. He came out of his break and he wasn't running full speed. He was not running full speed. Hence, that's why the ball seemed like it was too far. You have Calvin Ridley doing that second play into the game. I'm just watching the film, and I'm sure Coach pointed that out, or he should have pointed that out. This is loafing to me. This is half-assing to me. You're the best. You're supposed to be the number one wide receiver. And this is, forget the drops, but you're supposed to be our number one wide receiver. And this is how you run it out. Second play of the game, well rested. We're trying to get the ball to you. And you don't come out of that break 100 miles per hour, bat out of hell. You're not coming out like that to catch the ball. Well, I believe exactly what he said. They wasn't ready. And their play was indicative of them not being ready.
615-737-1025. Our phone and text lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We will continue to take your reaction all show long to the Titans' 41-20 loss to the Indianapolis Colts as the Titans fall to 0-3 again. But coming up next, ESPN NFL Nation Titans reporter Teron Davenport will join us. And I am glad that we are having Teron on the program today. I'm always glad to have Teron on the program because I want to ask a question to him, beat reporter to beat reporter. We'll do that next. 615-737-1025. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game.
Here's a reminder from Loan Pronto. Loan Pronto is delivering right now the lowest mortgage rates in 3 years. The rate reduction home loan program with Loan Pronto is a streamlined, low-cost way to slash your house payments by hundreds of dollars per month. So lock in a fixed rate as low as 4.99 APR. Close in as little as 2 weeks. No appraisal needed in most cases. You can skip your next 2 house payments entirely. So check this out because rates this low aren't going to last. So don't waste any time. You can call right now, 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. And there's no obligation. Just call and get a no obligation quote. 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com. Skip those next 2 house payments. Lock in to a better mortgage rate and save that money. It's Loan Pronto. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781. Subject to lender approval, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
D. Mace Vingan and Donick 1025. The Game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan. Pleased to be joined on our phone line, driven by Wilson County, Hyundai.com, by Teron Davenport, ESPN, NFL Nation, Titans reporter. He is presented each and every week by Bart Durham Injury Law. Now, Teron, I'm always glad to have you on the program, but I'm even more glad today because I want to ask you a question, beat reporter to beat reporter. You are a veteran beat reporter. I was a beat reporter. And when you are around a team every day, you pick up on things, you observe, you hear things. And I'll always remember during my time covering the Predators, walking into the dressing room, the losing dressing room after the Predators lost the Winter Classic to the Stars at the Cotton Bowl in Dallas. And long story short, I left that room. Nobody said this to me explicitly, but I left that dressing room knowing that Peter Laviolette was going to be fired any day. He was fired 5 days later. I heard you ask this question to Brian Callahan earlier today, but I want a straight yes or no answer and then some explanation, of course. Based on what you have observed and heard in the Titans locker room, has Brian Callahan lost the Titans locker room, yes or no?
And I would say no.
Okay. Why do you feel that way?
Well, I feel that way because when I asked some of the guys about that, the important thing that they said was they have talent and there's still reason to fight. So to me, it's like, okay, these guys haven't given up, and you would expect them not to give up, 3 games into the season. But the fact that there's no finger pointing also, and that's something that I talked to Roger McCreary about and a couple other guys. Cody Barton had mentioned, how guys have to just continue to stick together. And that tells me that he still has the locker room, because a sign of losing the locker room is when, the offense starts blaming the defense and defense blaming the offense and vice, all of that. I think that's a true sign that the locker room's lost.
How would you, I know that you are not a psychologist, but I'm going to ask you to play armchair psychologist here. How would you describe Brian Callahan's demeanor this season? I listened to his news conference after the game. I listened to his news conference today. He even said so himself. The worst thing that a coach can be is the story. But how would you describe how he's been handling all of the criticism that's been justifiably thrown upon him?
Yeah, I think the first couple of weeks it was fine. Today it just seemed like there's a little bit of a crack in the armor. And that's just me just kind of outside looking in. I could tell the relief when the conversation shifted to, hey, Cam Ward doesn't like the turf. You know what I mean? But we quickly brought it back to what it needed to be on, and that's this disaster of a start to the season. So I would say definitely not defeated, but I would say challenged, or even to use a word like that, I'm not going to say broken or defeated, but I would just say, along those lines, like on the verge of it, I guess.
Now, TD, how is Denard Wilson approaching, this after a loss? Because, the first week, it seemed like they did a pretty good job. Second half sort of got away from, them a little bit, but they managed to keep the game close, gave the team an opportunity to win. They didn't, obviously they didn't win. In the second game, Big Tavondre's not playing. You see some chink in the armor, especially in the second half. This game, it seems like it was a full out, just, a valve release. They couldn't stop the run. They couldn't get to the quarterback. And when they did, they didn't get the guy on the ground. And there was holes in their passing game. How did Denard Wilson address that?
Yeah, well, I haven't talked to him. He speaks tomorrow, so I can't really tell you for sure how.
Well, how the other guys? You've spoken with the other guys. How are they taking it on defense?
They're taking it personally. I think the biggest thing that came out of the locker room, and it was a little distorted because a lot of the guys were gone by the time we got in there, because there was a bit of a gap between, Brian Callahan getting to the locker room and then getting to the podium. So, but the guys that I did talk to, tackling is something that they have a big issue with, and they don't like that, and that's something that they're taking personally. And I think the focus is more on the runs, right? The fact that Jonathan Taylor, he had 4 broken tackles caused on that touchdown run. That's something that guys were upset about. They're upset about how things are starting to unravel in the fourth quarter as well.
Now, can you see, because, I praised Calvin Ridley last week for, coming back, or was it the week before, coming back and playing a much better game than he did the first game. This game, it's back to the drop passes. It's back to me, the not running routes full speed. That first route, watched it 3 to 5 times, and he didn't run that route full speed. What has been that thing between he and Cam Ward? Are they still, because it seems now he's going a little bit more to Alec manner, and rightfully so. The kid's making some plays, but it just seemed like after that touchdown drop, it was like, okay, I'm gonna have to find one of these other cats that can kind of, make some plays for him, because right now Calvin's just not doing it.
Yeah, no, I asked Ward about that, and when I asked him that question, I cut out the likely answer he was going to give, which was, okay, I make bad throws, so I can't get a. I cut that out by mentioning that, and he said he still has confidence in Calvin. He knows he's going to need him. He's going to keep going to him, and that's pretty much where he is with that. So obviously, Manor is emerging as a guy that is going to get a lot of targets, and I think Ward, his mindset is more just throws to whoever's open, and he's not really concerned about who it is. He just wants to hit the open man, which I think, as a rookie, having that approach is superb.
Teron Davenport is with us, going back through yesterday's loss, Titans against the Colts. Teron, let me hit you with the T'Vondre Sweat outlook. From what you understand, is it a high ankle sprain that is the issue?
I just asked him what he needed to do to get on the field, and I was like, in regards to practice, and he said, he's just going to continue to rehab and work it. And then I said, okay, well, what about playing? And he said, oh, I'm playing on Sunday. So I don't know, what really took it from that to being placed on IR, because I did see him run on it on Thursday. And, that was during individual period. That was the only day he practiced. So I don't know, honestly, what to tell you on that one.
Either way, regardless of how it happened, I'm really concerned about his entire season at this point, because he was already trying to play catch up. Now this happens. We know how a high ankle sprain, especially for a guy who plays his position, that's going to linger for a while. So that is just such a tough blow for a team that needs guys like him, who has promising ability to be there and continue to get better. And I'm really concerned whether that can happen or not.
Well, yeah, of course. And I think when you look at a guy that big also, you got to factor that in, because every step on that ankle, it's taking a lot. You know what I mean? So that's something else to consider.
Yes. It's a worst case scenario, Teron, in so many ways. My approach, and I've said this on the air many times, I'm not as concerned about the 1-loss record as I am. I want to find pieces, especially if I'm Mike Borgonzi, I want to find pieces that I can take forward and build around and know what holes I have to fill. Decrease the amount of holes. But with the loss of Sweat now, we still don't know what Latham's going to look like. Maybe you can give us some insight there. But I see some promising things with DK and Io Manor, but they need more of those.
Yeah, they need more players. That, even when everybody's healthy, I mean, that's always been the case. That's nothing new. They do need more players. Latham is still a work in progress. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. It's the same issue as it was to start the season. And coming into this season, there's an understanding and an expectation that they were trying to set that, don't necessarily expect the Lombardi Trophy to be marched down Broadway. And I think that's an accurate depiction of where they are right now. And they feel that there's time to turn things around, but the definition of turn things around for this franchise is different from what it may be for, a team like the Texans, who has been a playoff contender the last couple of years.
I admire how Cam Ward is handling himself so far. He is doing his best. I love the makeup he's got. And maybe, Teron, you can give us some insight on how he's holding up. But I don't think this environment right now is making it easy for him to have any success. And I worry that after a while, he could unravel if this is what he's going to have every week. So tell me what you're seeing, because I love how he takes ownership of stuff that he probably doesn't have to, but he takes it anyway.
Yeah, he's done that all his life. That's something that his dad told me he learned back in high school, where even if it wasn't his fault, he was going to take the blame, and that's just, it's a part of his makeup as a quarterback. As far as the part about avoiding being broken or unraveling, I think the big thing is he leads the league in sacks, right? 15 times. But it's interesting because he feels as though a good part of them are his fault. And so he's like, my self-awareness is what's going to keep me from being broken, so to speak. So we'll see. I think he is pretty strong mentally. I know, just from being able to interact with his family and talk to them, he comes from a strong background and one that brought him up to be mentally tough. So that's a good part of it. But you can only be so tough mentally and handle so much. And the young man has already handled an awful lot in these 3 games. So we'll see. But I would say that he will be fine.
Teron Davenport, ESPN NFL Nation Titans reporter, has been our guest on D. Mason, Vingan, and Donick. He is presented each week by Bart Durham Injury Law. TD, great stuff as always, my friend. We'll catch up next week.
All right, appreciate it. You guys take it easy.
Yep. Teron Davenport on the program. 615-737-1025. Our phone and text lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We will continue to take your Titans reaction. But coming up next, it is indeed 4-0 Clark. I'm just going to go with it.
Okay.
It was a mistake, but I like it, so we're going to do it. Clark Lee, Vanderbilt head football coach, will join us next for his weekly segment. The Commodores, by the way, defeated Georgia State 70-21 on Saturday night with Willie Donick in attendance. The most points Vanderbilt has scored in a game in more than 100 years. We will discuss that and more with Clark Lee coming up next. 615-737-1025. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game.
Derek Mason here, and if you've injured yourself in a motorcycle accident, go to lawtigers.com for your free case evaluation. Even if your accident was months ago, you have nothing to lose by calling Law Tigers. Insurance company want to pay out as little as possible, or frankly, nothing at all. Law Tigers make sure you get the compensation you deserve and doesn't get paid until your case has been settled. Look, they understand how much your bike gear is worth to you, so they will get it all repaired or better yet replaced. Law Tigers is a resource the motorcycle community turns to when in need. So whether it's to support you at an event, or if they see you broken down on the side of the road, with Law Tigers, you'll never ride alone. So call 1-800-LAW-TIGERS or visit lawtigers.com. Law Tigers is powered by Freeman and Fuson, and you can find them in Nashville, located at 2126 21st Ave South. That's Law Tigers, Tennessee's motorcycle lawyers.
Team Ace Fingan and Donick 1025, the game, broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, and David Janes here with you. Pleased to be joined on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, by Vanderbilt head football coach Clark Lee. Vanderbilt wins 70, yes, I said 70, to 21 against Georgia State on Saturday. The Commodores' most points in a game in more than 100 years. And Clark, I tripped over my tongue earlier and stumbled into a title for your weekly segment. I'm going to call it 4 O'Clark. Do you approve of that?
I think that's great. I'm all in on that.
Okay, good to know. We will print the T-shirts. So before the Georgia State game on Saturday, you spoke about how the loss to the Panthers last season served as a reminder that you can't skip steps as you build up your program. So what did it mean to you to watch your team put forth the performance it did against those same Panthers on Saturday?
It meant a lot. You know, we're serious about what we're doing, and these guys are focused. They were focused all week. I thought they put the work in prep, and it showed up for us on Saturday. And yeah, I mean, I think every time you're out there, you're learning about your team. You're learning about your connection with your team, what motivates them. I don't know. And so for them to come through with a performance like that, to have the pedal down from the start, be focused and detailed in our execution, that all that stuff just continues to build trust, and it gets me excited for us to go chase some more.
The SEC is set tomorrow to release its new 9-game schedule, which means that the SEC is also prepared to unveil the 3 annual opponents for the next 4 seasons. Now, those opponents have been leaked, and it has been reported that Vanderbilt will face Auburn, Mississippi State, and Tennessee each season. What are your thoughts on that? And did you have any input on who Vanderbilt's annual opponents would be?
I had no input, and I feel like it's great. I love the games we played even since I've been here as coach, against South Carolina, against Kentucky. And obviously those teams will be on or off our schedule depending on how the schedules line up. But again, at the end of the day, an SEC game's an SEC game, obviously, to keep the in-state rivalry intact. I expected that. I'm excited for our league and for college football to get extra SEC football. And to be honest with you, like, I got enough on my plate in 25. I haven't spent a lot of time thinking about 26 yet, but when we get to February, maybe I'll have some more thoughts.
Good answer, Coach. We're talking with Coach Clark Lee, Vanderbilt's head football coach. Now, Coach, when, if somebody says, they come out and they ask you, or they tell you your program has a soul now, what do you think? What would your response to that be? Because I'm looking at everything since you've gotten here, especially over the last year and a half, how it seems like there's this heartbeat that's starting to pound real hard now on West End. And then you get sellouts, you get, people coming back, you get national people talking about you. And not just that, you have, people within the campus talking about how, the attitude of the football team is filtering off on other programs. So if somebody says that to you or mentions, what would your response be?
Well, I mean, I agree. I think we've been hard at work at this. Now this is my 5th year, and I'll tell you, I mean, 21. We had the defibrillator out, and we were just trying to, do something to resuscitate. I mean, it was hard. We had a long way to go, and I didn't even know at the time when I took the job just how far away we were. And to think back to that point, year one, we didn't have a very good team. We didn't have a ton of foundational support, although I had a leader here in Candace Lee, and then obviously Chancellor Diermeyer, that were excited to grow that kind of support and resourcing the program. But there was nothing that was set up right for us to be able to compete and be successful. And so you got a first-time head coach in an environment that doesn't know how to take care of itself, learning how to be a head coach, playing in the hardest league in the country. we've come a long way. And I'll tell you that there were kids and players and staff members in that first team that started creating that pulse. And those people are very meaningful to me because a lot of them weren't rewarded with results, but they invested and they bled into this program. And I felt like year 2, we started to show that, and we started to represent that in the way we competed on the field, and we were able to find 5 wins and make progress. And obviously, because we weren't yet involved in the portal or in NIL, we lost some people off that team that were really important to sustaining success. And we probably held on to people that were really needing to move on to allow this program to breathe anew. And so 23 was a setback, but again, I'm not to go through the whole thing. It's just, my point is, obviously there's an external feeling of energy now. There's outside of the program, there's a ripple effect that's happened. And that ripple effect was not created in 2025. That ripple effect started in 2021 internally and has grown internally to the point now where it goes out. So again, to say, I totally understand that feeling of you're seeing the results of investment that started 5 years ago, if that makes sense to you.
Yeah. Clark Lee is with us, Vanderbilt head football coach. They're number 18 in the country now. Clark, it was my first time going to a game at the new stadium, and I kid you, I knew it was a lot better. I knew all about what was happening, but I still couldn't help but really feel like I was in a different venue, so to speak. If I hadn't looked down and looked at the bleachers that were there when I was in school, like that I was sitting on, like that's how I knew I was in the same place. But everything else around me just felt different, looked different. And I'm wondering what your guys thought of as you looked up and you saw the great crowd that you have and the atmosphere there.
First of all, Willie, are you not in the club level?
No, I'm with the people. I'm with the people.
Telling me we've got you in the bleachers is what you're telling me.
I like the bleachers. Okay. That's where I want to be.
Well, I'll see to it that never happens again. You were the sportscaster of the year, weren't you?
I was.
Let's go. Okay. Yeah. I listen. First of all, thank you for that observation. I'm really proud of Vanderbilt. We've elevated, and this again is a vision that Candace Lee's executing. Chancellor Deermeyer. I mean, I think there's more to it. Like eventually, I think in time you're gonna have those bleachers come down too. I mean, there's real reason to think that we're gonna totally finish this thing out in a short time here, and it's gonna be really something special. But it does feel new. It feels different. Obviously, we went through the pains of having both sides of the stadium knocked down and under construction, and that was harder than I maybe felt at the time, just because in the time it's your reality, man. What do? You can't complain about it. You just got to put one foot in front of the other, keep charging forward. But to have it finished, the environment it creates, the energy that we have in the stadium, obviously the product we're putting on the field is inspiring people to show up, and it feels like something totally different. And I think kind of to D Mace's point too, where people have a new perspective on the program, that certainly the play on the field has improved, but also to have a nice stadium to show up to and an environment where you can feel like you're a part of something special. It's just, I guess from my seat, I want to keep it going. I want to take it further. I want to maintain that energy level. And to do that, I've got to keep focusing on that product that we're putting on the field. And to me, what's next is, let's turn our attention to a football operations building. Let's really set this program up for sustained success. And I think we're proving to everybody that that's within our reach, but there's certain still foundational investments that need to be made to ensure that we can do that.
Well, one of the things that I was impressed with, six possessions, 6 touchdowns, but I look at the different, you have so many personnel groups that go in there. And this is probably a credit to Tim Beck, who I know you praise every week, but it's a lot of intricate plays with a lot of different formations, different looks, and a lot of players. But number one, it seems like Diego Pavia has a very good understanding of what's being called. He orchestrates it well, but also everybody's got to know where they're lining up. We constantly watch football games where teams you might have the greatest play ever drawn up, but if you don't line up right or somebody does it wrong, it doesn't work. But you could see all the development. There was a lot of plays that schemed wide open for you, especially in that first half.
Yeah, it is absolutely a credit to Tim and our offensive staff. First with the play design, and that is collaborative. I mean, they co-create in there, and they put our guys in really good positions to be successful. I think they do a great job teaching, and that's what shows up. And the number of personnel groupings and how nuanced it becomes and how he calls the game is so impressive for me to hear on the headset. And I mean, he is so specific about who is in the game and where and what is the play that's being run. So the credit him, and then our players, obviously it's so important to them. They want to be really good. And so they pay attention to the meetings. They take the meetings to the practice field. They're accountable to each other out there so that we can line up on game day and put the pressure on the opponent. And that's what leads to 6 possessions, 6 touchdowns. You don't become that efficient without total buy-in in the process. And, that's what's working for us right now. And we at some point the season's going to challenge us. At some point the ball's going to bounce the other way. We have to steel ourselves and be vigilant in our preparation so that we're ready for those moments. But I think what we have is an experienced team, and we have a seasoned coordinator, and right now, things are lined up really well. We're putting ourselves in good position, and we're making the plays we need to make.
Now, were those your drones or Corbin's drones or somebody like that halftime? I'm sure you heard about it. I'd never heard of a drone show before. Maybe a week ago, I heard somebody did one, but I'd never seen one. That was really amazing. Where did that come from?
Well, first of all, apparently it was something like 300 drones. I don't know, Willie, honestly.
Yeah,
when they said drone show, I thought we'd have 2 or 3 up there flying around. That's the most I've ever seen before. But no, my wife took a video of it, and I saw it after the game, and I was blown away by it. And apparently it got good reviews from the fans. So that's a win. But yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah, I've never seen that many people stay in their seats to watch. It really mesmerized people. So you talk about this a lot, Clark. You want your team to keep striving for better and better. You got Utah State. What in your mind is the difference? How much tougher is Utah State, say, than Georgia State, a team obviously that beat you last year, but you guys were really ready to play? What about Utah State? What's the scouting report?
Well, this is Bronco Mendenhall, and Bronco is a guy that I got a ton of respect for. He's a program builder. He wins through differentiation. He's going to challenge us. I mean, in all 3 phases, they're going to have design to beat us, and they're going to come in with confidence, and they're having a good season to this point, and we're going to have to be on our A game. And I trust our team to be there. Obviously that starts for us tomorrow with our practice prep, but this is an offense that's going to run through the quarterback, like similar to ours. There's a quarterback run game element that challenges you, some option plays, formationally unbalanced in motions. So there's going to be similar components to what we see every day. Defensively, Nick Howell's their coordinator. He was with us here for a couple of years, and they're a pressure-based system. I mean, this is going to be about picking up the pressures and collecting the movements and trying to get our run game going. And special teams has always been something that Bronco has emphasized, and they're going to try to block a punt. They're going to try to, get a surprise on side, and they'll do the swinging gate on field goal at extra point. That's probably more than you wanted, Willie. You just wanted me to go to the surface level here. But this will be a challenge to us. And I think in that way, there's so much on that film that is going to capture the focus and attention of our team and our players. And it's really important to our players. So I know they're going to be locked in. We're going to need to prep really well and be focused in prep so it'll show up for us on Saturday, and we can play hopefully a better game than we played against Georgia State. And that's, that doesn't mean the result's going to be the same. It does, again, when you score 70 points in a game, a lot has to go right for you. We just want to be able to play at our highest level. Again, the game against Utah State, it'll be 11:45 kick, so we got to be ready to go.
Vanderbilt head football coach Clark Lee has been our guest on D. Mace, Fingan, and Donick. He joins us every Monday throughout college football season. Clark, always a pleasure. Good luck this weekend against Utah State.
Good to be with you guys. Y'all take care.
You as well. Again, Vanderbilt hosts Utah State at 11:45 a.m. on Saturday at First Bank Stadium. Yes, Willie.
Can I just say one more thing about the stadium itself? Because I hear this has been true. Because I'm going to tell you this gets talked about a lot with the Vanderbilt fan base. It's a quote older fan base. What I'm seeing, what I saw on Saturday, and I'm curious how it's going to look when they've got another game, non-conference. Then of course the big dogs start coming through, right? You've got LSU coming in, you've got Auburn coming in. Teams that are going to bring a lot of people. I want to see if they can dwindle to some degree the amount of fans from the other team. But I saw a venue on Saturday that looks like it's the place to be. It was a much younger, hipper crowd than I think I've ever seen. The people in the seat, I was sitting in the bleachers, like I told Clark. But usually I look around, I notice a lot of people like, there's that group of fans. I've seen them. They've been coming forever. They're still there.
So you was the oldest guy in the bunch.
I started to become part of a little older. But I noticed a lot of younger fans.
But that's good.
That is good. So
Yes.
that's what I'm saying. They're finally, it looks like they're getting people. It's a venue that you're like, hey, let me check out this new stadium. The drone show we were joking about, that was unbelievable. Like that was I think you could get people to go pay just to go see a drone show. It was that amazing. And I didn't even know it was happening. It's like, stay in your seat. There's going to be a drone show. I was like, a drone show? I was like Clark. I was like, a couple of drones. What's this going to look like? It blew me away. Then you had Jay Cutler there. You had Darius Garland there. You had Michaela Blakes there. Like it was much more hip. And look, I am the first to say, in the past, it was not. Like they weren't putting effort into it. Like I was telling you, the Nissan Stadium vibe was not that. It was not of effort, hipness, the things that you got to do when you don't have the greatest place to come watch. But now, it looks like a real college venue. The sound system is state of the art. There's so many cool things about it. It really does seem like a brand new place.
So you said that Jay Cutler was there.
Yep.
You said that Michaela Blakes was there. You said that Darius Garland was there. You know who wasn't there, though? Tate McRae.
Yep.
Unfortunately for Diego. And he did mention that, I believe, right?
Her loss.
Yep.
Yeah.
You got to start somewhere.
Diego, there are plenty of fish in the sea. They may not be as successful or gorgeous as Tate McRae, but there are other fish in the sea.
He wants that fish.
But we act like it's just the book is closed. The book's still open.
Well,
there's still some more games.
You never know.
Keep winning.
I mean,
keep
you
winning.
never know.
I mean,
Go to the natty.
his wingman is sort of sabotaging him because he said in that DM, hey, if you don't want to go out with Diego, I'll take you out.
Yeah,
so
what wingman do that?
That's right. 615-737-1025. Our phone and text lines are driven by WilsonCountyHunted.com. Excuse me. Again, Utah State at 18th ranked Vanderbilt this Saturday late morning. This Saturday morning, 11:45 a.m. kickoff at First Bank Stadium. Vanderbilt favored by 21.5. 615-737-1025. We will get back into the Titans and Brian Callahan, who looks out of his depth as an NFL head coach. Predators fans, be listening at the end of the following segment because I have a pair of tickets to give away to tomorrow's preseason game against the Tampa Bay Lightning. So if you want to catch some hockey, be listening at the end of the next segment for the cue to call, and you can win a pair of tickets to see the Predators take on the Lightning tomorrow night at Bridgestone Arena, where we will be for our show tomorrow. 615-737-1025. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game.
Hey, this is Derek Mason, and I know you heard me tell you about Dr. Lodge and his staff over at Cool Springs MD for some time. If you set out to lose weight, chances are it's not your first time setting some type of goal to shed some extra pounds only to face disappointment. But I got some news because the good people over at Cool Springs Dr. Lodge and his team understands the frustration of this cycle, and that is why they offer a different approach to weight loss. The comprehensive weight loss program is led by Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and addresses the root cause of weight gain with tailored nutrition, exercise, blood test supplements, and more. They will customize a program specific to you and you only. So connect with Dr. Lodge at CoolSpringsMD.com today to schedule your appointment for a personalized weight loss plan just for you. That's Cool Springs MD, where your weight loss journey becomes a success story.
Cam, this is your adopted now hometown team. To hear boos come down from fans, how does that make you feel?
I play football, so I'm always gonna have my opinion. I'm not really too worried about that, and I'm trying to score points. We didn't do that enough to win the game today. But I mean, if I was them, I wouldn't be mad. I'd be mad too. I'm trying to win football games the same as theirs. So, if that's what they're going to do, we got to lock in as a group in the locker room and continue to motivate each other, push each other, and try to get a win.
That was Cam Ward after yesterday's 41-20 loss by the Titans to the Indianapolis Colts. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you. We are presented by Bax Homeworks. Remodeling done right. Get a free estimate at baxhomeworks.com, our new presenting sponsor. Thank you to Bax Homeworks. You can visit them online at baxhomeworks.com. Let's go to Dylan, who's been waiting patiently on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Dylan, thank you for calling. Go ahead.
Hey, guys. Yeah, I'm sorry. This is actually about Vanderbilt football, but I wanted to ask Willie real quick. So being a fan and an alumni from Vanderbilt, one, I want to know how do you feel about the success that they're having now after just years of not doing so good? And then a question for all three of you is, do you think that the success of last year and so far the success of this year mixed in with NIL, is that going to help propel Vanderbilt forward with prospects actually wanting to start coming to Vanderbilt? Like, is this going to be a maintained success that they're going to have year in and year out now and, competing hopefully for playoff spots and stuff in the future? And I'll hang up and listen to you guys.
Thank you, Dylan. Why don't you take that one, Willie?
Well, I'll try to make it quick. I think, you heard Clark Lee said it. This is a product, number one, I think, of having the right guy there, a guy who really understood what they didn't have before, because he was playing when they didn't have what everybody else in the league had. Now they do. And to Candace Story-Lee and Chancellor Diermeyer for providing that, and it took a few years, they were behind. And they're never going to have exactly what the top dogs have, but now they have a chance, if they're smart with it, to compete. So I do think they have an opportunity to continue to get better. I do think this is by far the deepest, most talented Vanderbilt team that I have seen. And it's not even close, really. And the depth is the key. They've never had depth like this. But that's where smart allocation of resources and enough resources are paying dividends. I don't know what it's going to mean for the next 5 or 10 years, but it does strike me this way. I don't think that it's quite as much about, hey, the tradition, but now when you can just show somebody the money and say, hey, we got a pretty good team over here. Check out these people. We got some good people. We're in Nashville. It's pretty cool. And we're going to give you $300,000 or $500,000, whatever it is. That person is going to be interested. It's not quite as much of, well, Vanderbilt hasn't won. It's, Alabama is over here. It's a shiny. I think if you can compete and you bring resources there and it's the best opportunity, they clearly are getting a better level of player.
Eli from Smyrna on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, says, my God, the difference in how prepared Clark Lee and how Brian Callahan sound is astounding.
Well, I mentioned this last week. We know that those two are very close friends. The irony, I don't know if the texter knows that or not.
Well, now you do,
but
Eli.
Clark Lee, if you go back a couple years, they were teetering. They struggled, right? Clark Lee was having a lot of question marks. It wasn't that long ago. He really looks like the guy that's got it together. I don't rule that out for Brian Callahan. I don't think it's smart to pull the trigger right now. I would let it ride. This is just me. People may disagree. I would let it ride through the end of the season and then decide, at least for another month or two. I just don't think it solves anything to make a rash, because he screwed up. There's no question about it. But I think Clark Lee would tell you he screwed up some games a couple of years ago, and he was able to overcome it and get better. It certainly helped when you started to have better players. Right there, this is a job right now with no margin for error, and he's not helping himself. And let's go back. Let's connect it to the soundbite we just played with Cam Ward. Derek, I'm really concerned with how Cam Ward is going to hold up through all of this, because we knew he was going into the fire without a whole lot of protection. Now you take away J.C. Latham. Now you take away Zeitler. you see Calvin Ridley not rising to the occasion, but shrinking in the occasion. They need him to be the best guy. He's not. He's not playing as well as he's even capable of playing. There's not a lot that they're building around Cam Ward, and that was the worst fear. And now on top of it, you got people saying, just fire the coach. It reminds me of a discussion we had last year with UC Saros. Now, UC Saros wasn't a rookie last year, but UC Saros was taking it all on his shoulders for a while. He kept afloat for a while, and then he kind of unraveled when it just, the week in, week out stress of all that, he kind of cracked for a season. Now people are doubting UC Saros. I'm worried about that with Cam Ward because we have seen young quarterbacks get crushed because he survived for 3 weeks. I love how he answered those questions right there that we played. I love it. People they booed. Hey, I'd be mad too. We're not playing well. He says all the right things. But man, I worry about another month of this, what it might do to him.
I mean, it's not even what it will do to him. You have another month like this, they're going to fire you. Because if you have another month like this, you're going to lose the team. Teron was right when he said, well, I don't think he's lost the team because no one's, everybody's still sort of being trying to be accountable or are being accountable, and they know it's on them, and it has nothing to do with in their mind, it has nothing to do with Brian, and they still have confidence in him. That's 3 weeks into the season. If this continues for another 3 to 4 weeks, I'm not sure that if you ask that question again, you will get the same answer. I think you probably would get the same answer. And then the last person that sort of breaks, if things do break, it is the quarterback. He's usually the last person that, in 9 times out of 10, he never does. He just keeps a stoic face, and, he shows disappointment at times because, hell, if you ain't winning, I'm not going to take interviews and be laughing and giggling. I'm going to, express to you how I feel and what we need to do or what we're not doing, to be better. So he's going that if they don't win, he's going to feel that. And the answers are going to continue. The frustrating part about it is the answers are always the same. The answers never change. And that's the frustrating part about it, because every week you're losing. I know what question you're going to ask. The answer's not changing. That's the frustrating part.
And you can sense it when you are in a locker room. I mentioned this in the question to Teron Davenport. Teron is a veteran reporter. He's been around other teams. He's been covering the Titans for several years now. The players respect him. They talk to him. But when you are in that locker room, when you are in that dressing room, you become part of the environment. And as you get to know the players, you pick up on things, even if they aren't explicitly said. You can pick up on nonverbal cues or how a player answers a certain question that may be unrelated to what you're thinking. And I use the example of the last game I covered that was coached by Peter Laviolette, which was the Winter Classic, January 1st, 2020. I walked into that dressing room and I talked to a lot of veteran players. You mentioned the veteran players, right? I talked to Pecorine. I talked to Matthias Ekholm. I talked to Austin Watson. I talked to Dan Hamhuis. I talked to veteran Predators players, veteran NHL players. And I could sense it in their voices. I can sense it in their body language that Peter Laviolette, maybe he wouldn't be fired on the way out of Dallas, but he was going to be fired imminently. And it took 5 days. January 6th, 2020, he was fired. And from afar, I'm watching these news conferences, and I was starting to get that vibe. Now, keep in mind, I'm not in the Titans locker room. I don't know any of these players. I've never covered any of these players. So how I feel watching the news conferences on YouTube is different than when you get to know them and you're in the locker room. And Teron says he does not believe that Brian Callahan has lost the team. And I will trust Teron because he's there. He's putting in the work. So I just don't know how much longer Brian Callahan can hold on to that. I mean, Derek, how would you feel if one of your coaches did what Brian Callahan did at the end of the first half yesterday.
Oh, you'll be angry.
But
You'll
you
be
have to
but you have to taper it, and
but that's on top of it's compounding the
Yeah.
other things that have happened.
Yeah,
It's
I
compounding
mean-
what happened in Denver and so on. It's not just a one-off here.
no, it's not a one-off. But I've always, been one to say, well, okay, what are we doing? To help. Um, we complain about the coach. Yeah, I'm gonna complain about the coach. I'm gonna complain about the play selection if things are not working. But ultimately, it's like at the end of the day, it's like, what are we doing to make it work? No matter what are we doing to make it work? So the sign of a team to me that is sort of walking away from the coach is if you start hearing things trickling out. It could be one thing. Once you start hearing things trickle out of that locker room, we have a problem. I said that last time when stuff started trickling out about Vrabel.
Yep.
I said we got a problem. I said that locker room ain't what everybody's saying, and lo and behold, it wasn't. They were losing, and everything was seemed to be haywiring, but they wanted everybody to believe that everything was okay. No, when stories start to trickle out, that ain't just by happenstance. It's deliberate. So when things and if things start to leak out of that locker room, that's when I think we're going to have a problem. Or because this situation was different, Teron said, because of the logistics of it, they end up staying with Brian Callahan a little bit longer, which that's not good for Brian Callahan, especially in a loss when it becomes about you and nobody's rushing in there to interview your players. That's a problem. So TD said, well, because of Brian Callahan came back, a lot of guys were gone. And typically that's how it happened. If y'all ain't in there, like we're gone, especially after loss, we out of here. Here's another tell sign. If you start to see more guys not in the locker room, when people come to interview, then guys are like, I'm done. I don't even want to answer questions. Because I've been through it. I've been on bad teams where, because of injuries, where we were so decimated, where we were just a bad team. And after a while, it was like you could see guys getting in the shower real quick, like getting undressed. Coach come in and say a speech. They hop in the shower. Some guys in the shower before that. So when coach is done, guys putting on their clothes, guys are headed out with their families. Like, I'm not wasting time talking about the same stuff over and over again. That's another sign.
615-737-1025. Our phone and text lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We've got a lot of your thoughts to get to on Brian Callahan and his status as Tennessee Titans head coach. He retains that title for now, but we'll see. 615-737-1025. Also, Predators fans, if you want a pair of tickets to see the Predators take on the Tampa Bay Lightning tomorrow in preseason action at Bridgestone Arena, be caller number 3 at 615-737-1025. Caller number 3 will win a pair of tickets to see the Predators host the Tampa Bay Lightning tomorrow night in preseason action at Bridgestone Arena. Caller number 3, 615-737-1025. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game.
him to
D-Mace, Vingen, and Donick, 102.5. The Game, Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingen, live at the Circa Sportsbook inside the Mint Gaming Hall in Franklin, Kentucky. Head up here if you are looking for a place to watch Monday Night Football, and you can also find out more details on how to win a trip to Las Vegas to watch the Titans play the Raiders next month. One texter, Tom, on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, says, opposite of Titans, was home in Philadelphia this past week and weekend. During the week, sports radio callers and hosts were attacking Nick Sirianni over a 2-0 record, saying he needs to be held accountable and make it right. Callahan and Philly would have already been buried somewhere in airport construction.
Philadelphia is different, man. They're different.
He wouldn't have made it out of the season last year, I don't think.
Well, and I mentioned Clark Lee. I think, you know, there's more patience in where he was a couple years ago. He's turned around. That sometimes you got to ask yourself, look, like if that caller is kind of saying that's the right way to do it, does Sirianni deserve to be held accountable? Exactly. He just won the Super Bowl.
He's been to 2 Super Bowls, won 1.
Yeah.
So
he had one little bad patch there.
Yeah.
They were 10-1 the season in between, and then collapsed basically at the end of the season. But how about their win yesterday?
Yes. Very impressive against the LA Rams.
There was some remember the old D-Mace, this is one where Adam will not have any idea what we're talking about. Remember you used to watch the games as a kid, and it was Alcoa presents fantastic finishes. There were like 7 of them yesterday. But they used to have this little NFL Films clip like right. At the 2-minute warning of a game, they would show you a pass game that went down right to the wire, and they had the slow motion. Yeah, fantastic finishes. There was definitely Franco Harris was a classic. Or the Hail Mary, Roger Staubach, Drew Pearson was one. So they had a bunch of them. I was actually sitting next to Paul McCann, who was not doing the first game of the doubleheader yesterday. You know, he used to be known as Philly Paul before he became the PA announcer. His son Zach is being developed as the backup PA announcer for the Predators game. They're both enormous Eagles fans. They were watching the game. Paul was watching the game, and I was sitting next to him when that field goal got blocked. He went nuts.
I'm sure he did.
The Rams should have won that game. They had it. But it just shows you in the NFL, how in the world did the Jets lose the game with the blocked field goal?
Because they left too much time on the clock.
Because they're the Jets.
Exactly, and they're the Jets. They jet all over themselves.
Holy cow.
Let's go to our phone line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com and welcome in our friend Adam from Portland, who I have heard on 2 other shows today. I don't know if he was on Chase and Big Joe, but why not? Adam, go ahead.
It don't matter as long as you're on ours.
No, that's why I'm gonna ask you, Adam, because I can't ask Willie. He's too tied to the Preds, and I can't ask Derek because he loves the Titans too much. So I'm just gonna ask you, as a fan to a fan, have you ever seen a coach this dumb? Like that's the question, because I've looked through history. I'm like, not even just for the Titans. I don't think I've ever seen a coach make this many mistakes? Like where we
Well,
talk about him this
you
much.
wasn't around. You must not have been watching the Detroit Lions. I watched them for almost. No, you ain't watching. You ain't watching the way I'm from Detroit, so I watched them closely. So he's nowhere near the debacle that was going on. But I do agree with you in regards to him not quite looking so well.
Well, there's franchises that are like that are problems. Like through the history, the Lions, the Browns. I understand there's like poverty franchises, but I've never seen a coach single-handedly tear down a building. Like this is just, I don't know. Me as a fan, I've never felt like this before. I'm so just 3 weeks in, I'm like, okay, Fred, let's get here, October 7th. Like I'm so pissed about the football season that I have to start talking about hockey. It's crazy, dude. So just one dude. Yeah, I want to ask Adam because he's a fan too. Have you ever seen it before?
Thank you for the call, Adam. Look, I would need to go through the annals of history to give you an educated response. So I apologize for not giving you the response that you're looking for. But I will say that Brian Callahan, as we started off the show and we'll continue to discuss, looks out of his depth as an NFL head coach. Now, can I say unequivocally that he is the dumbest coach in the NFL or any other sport? I can't, because I can't say I've studied the intelligence. Well, yes, Urban Meyer was not cut out for the NFL.
Lou Holtz, Jets.
Mm-hmm.
There's been some.
Steve Spurrier.
Steve Spurrier, that didn't go very well.
No.
And I said this to you, Willie, on the way over here, and Adam touched on it. I hope, I truly, truly hope that the Nashville Predators are successful this season, because the combination of the Titans being bad last season and the Predators being bad last season just sucked all of the life out of Nashville sports fans last season. There was nothing to be excited about. So
from the professional
standpoint,
Vanderbilt had
I'm
a
sorry.
pretty good year.
Yes, that is true.
Tennessee,
being number one Alabama.
Pretty good year.
From the professional standpoint, Vanderbilt,
although it's SEC, arguably is professional now.
you could make that argument. So I'm hoping that the Predators have a good season. So
well, here's what I think.
But I digress.
Here's what I think would concern me from Adam's perspective here.
Sorry, we got a texter, by the way. Before you say that, if you come up to the Circus Sportsbook in Franklin, Kentucky, inside the Mint Gaming Hall, that's what I was trying to say. You can get details on winning a trip to Las Vegas to see the Titans face the Raiders. Liam on our text line says, if you win the Vegas trip, are you required to attend the game? No. By law,
we
you
would
are not
like
required.
for you to
You
go.
don't have to.
We would like for you to go.
Derek Mason will be there.
Yes,
you
we
can
would like for
find
you to
Derek
go.
Mason somewhere in Las Vegas. You can have a hangover-like experience with Derek Mason. How about that?
You won't have one of those, but
like the Wolfpack.
But that stays in the flow for what I was going to say. What you don't want to be, Derek referenced the Lions for the more than a decade, right? I grew up as a teenager in Orlando, Florida, watching a really, really terrible era for the Bucks, who you were forced to watch a lot. And you just don't want to be, quote, that franchise, that the bungling franchise that doesn't have it together, because that can linger for a while. You lose all of your credibility, you lose all of your confidence, your swagger. The Titans have to get out of this by the time they open that new stadium, or else there's going to be some rough times there, especially with the ticket prices and the prices of the PSLs. What it's going to cost you to go to that stadium, you got to have everything buttoned up. And right now they're in an era now. They're getting more and more removed from the steady. They had 6 straight winning seasons. They never won a Super Bowl, but they were not where they are right now. Right now they're getting lampooned a little bit more. It's seeping out nationally, the image, the reputation of what they have. There's not a lot of identity right now.
No, there's not. And Adam, he said something that I hope don't happen. And it's no knock on the Preds, because I said this during the pregame yesterday with Big Joe and Chris. I said the last thing you want is for your fan base to start looking toward the next sport. When does the next sport start? and while your sport is still going, while your sport is basically not even started.
We're
yet
3
going.
games into
Yes,
the season.
you do not. And I love the Predators. I love the Predators. But you can't have your fan base on the other side, Titans, saying, boy, I can't wait till the Predators start up. Because you've been playing, not because they believe the Predators are going to be good and y'all are good. So they're like, man, sports is going to be fabulous for the next 9 months. No, it's because your program, your organization, your franchise is bad. And they're looking for some type of sports hope or some sports remedy. So they're asking, when does the next sports calendar start for the next team? You don't want them getting to that point. I love the Predators, and I can't wait for the season to start. But if you start hearing people or getting calls on when does hockey season start, and we are not even a month into football, that's a problem.
615-737-1025 if you want to get in on the conversation. One texter says, the bloodlust is strong. And Adam from Portland. We mentioned bloodlust last week in discussing
Yes.
Brian Callahan. If you thought the bloodlust was strong last week, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Yeah,
I don't like that sound. No, thank you.
Yeah, let's never do that again.
No, thank you, Derek. No.
Clarice.
No, we're not doing Hannibal Lecter on the program. One texter says, Bears fan here, Eberflus was so dumb. So,
I guess so. So, Adam, there you go. You and Chicago fans need to talk. Y'all can come up with some good stories.
Oh, man, no.
Maybe and Washington fans, too. All y'all can talk together.
Well, one texter brings up Willie was raving about the drone show. And I know Willie is a pretty hip guy, but every once in a while he has his dad moments. And I've never heard of a drone show. I didn't know how many drones there were going to be. It's like a dad moment.
Have you ever seen a drone show?
Am I aware of drone shows? Yes. Have I ever seen one in person? No.
It's a relatively new thing, is it not?
I don't know.
Pretty new.
I go to a lot of games. I've never been in a game with a drone show.
But this texter is bringing up how you were raving about the experience at First Bank Stadium and says compare that to the Titans experience. I mean,
yeah. Well, I talked about my experience at the open. I went to the home opener at
did.
the Titans game, and they have mailed it in. They're not putting any effort into it at all. And I understand they're transitioning to the new stadium.
Yeah.
That's where their resources are. But in the meantime, you can do some things to have somebody who takes the time to go to your stadium. In the meantime, you've got, by the way, this isn't the last year at the stadium. They got to go to that stadium next year. Okay. You're asking people to pay money to go to the stadium. So put some effort into it.
Well,
that's all anybody asks.
all
I
of the
understand not
effort is
every
over.
stadium is new. You can't have a new stadium everywhere you go.
All the resources are next door. They're telling the electrician, oh, by the way, go check on the toilets too while you're over there.
as I said to start the show, Titans fans, pick your favorite personal injury law firm that you see advertised on the station or in billboards around Nashville or on television and call them and tell them that you are entitled to compensation for pain and suffering for having to watch the Tennessee Titans play, especially if you paid money to go to the game yesterday or last week.
But I'm not talking about you can't control the product. You can control the fan experience.
Understood. My point still stands. I think you're entitled to pain and suffering compensation.
I think part of your argument can be, and also the game operations, there's no effort being put into it.
615-737-1025. Our phone and text lines are driven by Wilson County Hyundai.com. We want to hear from you in the 5 o'clock hour. Call us, text us, 615-737-1025. Your thoughts on Brian Callahan, the Titans, and where the hell they go from here, because I have no answers for that. 615-737-1025. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Ving at 1025 The Game. D-Mace, Vingan, and Donick 102.5 The Game, broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, and David Janes here with you. We are live at the Circa Sportsbook inside the Mint Gaming Hall in Franklin, Kentucky. Head up here if you are looking for a place to watch Monday Night Football. Great game tonight, Lions at Ravens. Plus, find out more details on how to win a trip to Las Vegas to watch the Titans play the Raiders next month. As Liam on our text line asked earlier, are you required to go to the game if you win the tickets and the trip? No, you're not, but you might as well, right? If the tickets are being given to you.
You might as well
And
go.
use the newer stadium.
Allegiant Stadium, yeah. Las Vegas, always a great time. So
then you can also, at least feign that you're not a gambling addict by going to the game.
Yes.
If you get tickets to an NFL game in a new stadium and you want to end up on the slot machines, you might have a problem.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
You just might. I'm not saying that's true. I'm just saying you might.
Hey.
Well, you can find out for yourself by winning the trip to Las Vegas. And the only way that you can win it is by coming up here to the Circa Sportsbook inside the Mint Gaming Hall in Franklin, Kentucky. A roughly 30-ish minute drive from downtown Nashville, factoring in traffic and such. But an easy drive this afternoon for Willie and I coming from East Nashville. All right. Most of you want to discuss Brian Callahan, and we completely understand. Because once again, Brian Callahan looked out of his depth as an NFL head coach in the Titans' 41-20 loss to the Indianapolis Colts at Nissan Stadium. And when we discussed Brian Callahan's status last week, we were all in agreement that there was is a low ceiling on how far a head coach can take this type of roster that is so devoid, bereft of talent, whatever fancy word you want to use. I did not bring the travel bell. But the issues that Callahan has been having are independent of that personnel. So a lot of you want to weigh in on Brian Callahan, and we will do that. Matt on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, says they, meaning the Titans, have to be considering the optics of firing Callahan 3 games into the season, and I think that's what's holding them back. Honest question, do you think the coach doesn't understand why it's so bad? I assume he means the decisions that he's been making that have been coming under fire.
I'm pretty sure he understands, what's going on. And he's probably just as disgusted as we are. So can he, because winning cures all things. Can he get a win somewhere, somehow, very quickly within the next couple of weeks? To kind of sort of, dim the fires a little bit. Because if he doesn't, then this is going to continue to snowball. And it's going to get to a point where it becomes national. And when it becomes national, you're not coming back. There's no coming back. If the Titans become national news because of the head coach and his inability to coach his team, that's the minute that Brian Callahan should realize his job is done. Right now, it hadn't gotten public. Locally, yeah, we're, from airway to airway, fan base, across the city and across the state, they're upset. They want to see a different product. They want to see a different coach. But it hasn't gotten to a point where it's become noticeable to the country. Well, meaning the football world.
Right. You say that, and I saw this post retweeted into my timeline multiple times yesterday from Nick Wright. Nick Wright, yeah. He's part of the First Things First crew on Fox Sports 1. Incredibly well-known, I would say, sports commentator. Like Stephen A. Smith light, I guess is how you could describe Nick Wright. I don't watch a ton of him, but I am familiar with him. And he tweeted yesterday, Brian Callahan might be worse at in-game coaching / game management than any NFL coach I have ever seen. It's truly remarkable to behold every week. Now, I don't know how much Titans football Nick Wright is watching on a regular basis. If I am not mistaken, he is a devoted Chiefs fan. So we have this conversation all the time when the Titans are playing well, and you'll see analysts talk about the Titans who don't normally talk about the Titans. And you say, well, what do they know? How many Titans games do you think Stephen A. Smith has watched as he's talking about them on First Take? Well, I think the same applies the opposite way. Like how I don't know how many Titans games Nick Wright is watching, or how many.
But I think though he's pinpointing from the national perspective. I mean, there's probably some hyperbole there. He's going for clickbait, but I think people from a national perspective look at the management of the end of the first half in the Bronco game, and then the
field goal,
whole field goal, wrong ball,
That's what
delay
they
of
see.
game.
Yeah.
You put those two together, and you are now labeled until further notice, because that's all it takes.
Yeah.
Right. And on top of other things that we've been watching, when we are watching every play, the lining up in the neutral zone, the 2 men in the illegal shift, illegal motion, the pre-snap penalties that have not gone out. It doesn't look as bad. Like, it wasn't great, the final stats, but there were like 3 or 4 penalties that were declined by the Colts because they took the play. They easily could have had double-digit penalties. They were called for double-digit penalties. They just weren't all accepted. They are not able to do that. But to me, when you have a exhibit A of what happened at the end of the first half yesterday, that is what gets you a national reputation. And I keep coming back to the source of it. I see a young coach who has got a very poor roster that he's having to manage and try to make it work. And he's trying to be the play caller and the game manager. And I think that is the root of why this happens. I cannot understand how on 3rd and 2, you haven't made your mind up. That is coaching game management 101. You're down 17-6. You have time as the play caller, unless it's too distracting to be the play caller and the game manager. Otherwise, you have to give up one or the other. On 3rd and 2, you have to decide on 3rd and 2. Am I going for it if it gets to 4th down, or am I not? That is a simple thing to think ahead. It's 1 play ahead. It's not 4 plays ahead. You know the time and score. You know how your defense is playing. You know the defense you're going up against. If you decide to line up and just kick it, like you said in the first hour, D-Mace, all right, I disagree with that. I think it's a no-brainer that you have to go for it on 4th and 1. But when he, in the press conference, 3 different times said, yeah, we were still trying to make up our mind. No, there's no making up your mind. You make up your mind on 3rd down, not after 4th down. It was indecisive, and that to me is I'm questioning big time. Can he handle play calling and being a head coach at the same time? I'm very, very skeptical of that.
Let's go to Roy, who's been waiting patiently on our phone line, driven by Wilson County, Hyundai.com. Roy, thank you for waiting. Please go ahead.
What's up, guys? Well, first things first, I don't listen to anything Nick Wright says about the Titans. Even when the Titans were doing good a few years ago, he always had something bad to say about him. If you don't know who Nick Wright is, just picture Tom Green with long hair.
That is an apt description, Roy.
So even when we had Derrick Henry and A.J. Brown and was doing good, the guy always bashed us. But I want to kind of look back. History kind of has a way of repeating itself, especially with the Titans. We went through Fisher, Munchak, Wisenhunt, Malarkey, Vrabel, and now Callahan. And out of all those coaches, including the one we got now, which ones was fired too soon and which ones were fired way too late? And if you think about it, Wisenhunt was fired in 2015, a decade ago, and I think he had maybe 3 wins out of 2 years here. And him and Callie have similarities, but I want to see us get through these next 2 or 3 games and see if we can get maybe 2 out of 3 or close games. And I think the only good thing Callahan has brought to this team right now is Bones Fossil, and the play calling abilities on offense may be a little bit too much for him right now, but I'll hang up and listen to you guys and tighten up.
Thank you, Roy.
I'm not sure because if they go out and say they lose the next 2 games. I think it's Arizona or somebody.
They're at Houston,
Houston, to
then
Arizona.
Arizona, then Las Vegas,
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken.
Houston is 0-3.
Yeah,
Just
they
for the
0-3. You lose to Houston.
And we know how important it
that game
is
to them. Yep.
for the
to
ownership.
Adams family. Yep. I'm not sure that he can survive if they don't come out of this road trip with a winning record.
So he needs to win 2 out of 3 in your mind.
I think he needs. He can't. You can't go into
the Vrabel game.
Yes, exactly. You can't go into the Vrabel game with 1 win on your resume or no wins on your resume headed into that game. If you don't come back, I think with a winning record, that's it may be close to you getting fired because you then play New England here.
Yes.
And say if New England don't blow you out. Say if New England wins, just wins, period. Now you're 0-7, 1-6, whatever it is. At that point, it's going to take some unforeseeable, whatever to happen for you to have a winning season and for that locker room to stay with you. You would have that means this team wouldn't have had experienced a win since last year against New England. That was the last time they experienced a win. Am I right? Or was it the last game of the season? One of the two. But they've experienced more losses than they did win.
They beat the Texans at the end of last season, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So
nope.
They
no,
didn't?
no,
they won. It was late in the season in Houston.
Yes.
The last game of the season was at home against
Yes,
Houston.
I'm sorry.
They were not clearly not trying
they-
to win. They put
Exactly.
Levis in. They put
They
Rudolph
have
back
lost
in.
9 consecutive games since last
Dating
season.
back to that last
Yes,
season.
9 consecutive games.
So
my mistake.
And then you head into half the season. At that point, it would have been 12 consecutive losses.
If they get swept
Yes,
on the road
exactly.
trip, yes.
How do you retain the locker room after that? How do guys stick with, especially after all the blunders that you've had? And we ain't even talk about the foreseeable blunders that just more than likely will happen. Something will happen.
Oh, there will be
yeah,
something.
something will happen. We can make something will happen.
Take it to the bank.
So
that's on Friday, but
you haven't won any games, and you are hurting your own team. If I'm an owner, what you expect me to do? Hold on? Why? Because of the connection. You don't have a connection with a quarterback. Y'all losing. Man, there's no connection with the quarterback or the team. So as much as we may say, just let it ride out, because the worst thing you could do is switch on this first-year quarterback midstream. Also, the worst thing you can do is continue to let your rookie quarterback go through this.
one texter, Wes in Clarksville, says, I think they will give him to the bye week. Here is the Titans schedule until the bye week. 3 consecutive road games at Houston, at Arizona, at Las Vegas. Home to New England, at Indianapolis, home against the Chargers, who are 3-0, by the way, as well.
It don't look good.
No, I don't think he's making it to the bye week. He's
Hey,
not
listen,
making it to
I
the bye
know
week.
anything can happen in football, and there could be a turnaround, and it takes one game, and you can get the roll. I understand that. But you're talking about a team that has talent and just maybe that has enough talent and just maybe starting off slow. This team doesn't have enough talent for me to think that if they lose 3 or 4 more games headed into the bye, that they can somehow it can somehow be a reclamation. Then second, no, you're a bad team.
Odds are severely stacked against the Tennessee Titans. But, Derek, I want to follow up on something that we talked about last week. So the Titans do not play at home again until the matchup against Mike Vrabel and the New England Patriots. The Titans play 3 consecutive road games at Houston, at Arizona, at Las Vegas. And I said to you last week, the Titans don't want to get embarrassed at home before going on a 3-game road trip. And from the player perspective, I understand your player perspective. From the player perspective, you said, hey, it's good. They'll get out of town. They'll get away from the noise. They'll all be together, similar to how it was during training camp, right? They'll be together. They'll have to bond. They'll have to get through this as a team. From the outside perspective, following up on something you said earlier about the last thing the Titans want is for their fans to start checking out and saying, well, at least the Predators start up in 2-3 weeks. I think the combination of the two disastrous performances, well, disastrous is for yesterday. The game against the Rams wasn't disastrous, but the two poor performances at home, coupled with the 3 consecutive road games, I think there is a significant risk of the Titans fan base losing interest, because the Titans fans who would stick around and, hey, they're at home. They're my favorite team. I'll go. They don't have that anymore. It's easier to check out, I think, on your team when they're not around.
They would be.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, they would be 0-6. You don't even have to do the numbers with your big ass glasses for me to know that they ain't getting that. The chance that they ain't got no chance to make it to the playoffs if they start 0-6. To me.
Well,
and you ain't got to tell me that.
Yes.
And you can look at the analytics, but I'm looking at the team too. And I know a team that starts off bad because there may be a few things they need to tweak or some guys are hurt. I know a team that starts off 4-6 that's just bad. The Titans are just a bad team. They are. They got some good players, but they are just a bad team. And what it's starting to look like, and this is what I didn't want it to look like, but it's starting to look like they are a bad coach team too. That's what I never wanted to go there, because my mind is like, the roster is what it is. He can only do so much with the roster, so you got to give him some slack with that. But now we're sort of entering into the field of, he may not be a good coach, let alone you don't have talent, but you just may not be a good coach.
Joey from Bellevue on our text line before we hit the break says, Adam and Willie are treating D-Mace like he's Brian Callahan, not offering him a ride to Franklin with you guys. Now, Joey, Derek is out of the way.
Exactly.
Willie and I live not too far from one another, so it's easy for Willie and I to carpool up here. Derek is out of the way, and I love Derek, but I don't love going out of my way. So I guess Derek is Brian Callahan in this situation.
We did offer, for the record, a meeting spot.
Yes.
Where the three of us could find a convenient meeting place and move up. But
that
Derek
is
declined.
But that's just like, no, y'all go. I'm good.
Derek was simmering. He was marinating with his thoughts, and we didn't want to bother him. We wanted him to have that quiet car ride up to Franklin to be with his thoughts. 615-737-1025. Our phone and text lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We will take your thoughts on the Tennessee Titans and, of course, Brian Callahan after the Titans lose 41-20 to the Indianapolis Colts. By the way, just for kicks and giggles, and I said kicks and giggles, only 6 teams have ever lost their first 3 games and still made the postseason. The 2018 Texans, the 1998 Bills, the 1995 Lions, the 1992 Chargers, the 1982 Buccaneers, and the 1981 Jets.
Well, you ain't adding the 2025 Titans.
No, I'm definitely not adding them. 615-737-1025. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game.
Derek Mason here, and if you've injured yourself in a motorcycle accident, go to lawtigers.com for your free case evaluation. Even if your accident was months ago, you have nothing to lose by calling Law Tigers. Insurance companies want to pay out as little as possible, or frankly, nothing at all. Law Tigers make sure you get the compensation you deserve and doesn't get paid until your case has been settled. Look, they understand how much your bike gear is worth to you, so they will help you get it all repaired or better yet replaced. Law Tigers is the resource, the motorcycle community turns to when in need. So whether it's to support you at an event or if they see you broken down on the side of the road, with Law Tigers, you'll never ride alone. So call 1-800-LAW-TIGERS or visit lawtigers.com. Law Tigers is powered by Freeman and Houston, and you can find them in Nashville, located at 2126 21st Ave South. That's Law Tigers, Tennessee's motorcycle lawyers.
See some of those moves kind of directed at your head coach too. Would you?
It don't really matter. I mean, it don't matter. I mean, yeah. At the end of the day, Callie owned up to his things, and he communicated with us, and he let us know what will happen and how he wanted to go about things. And at the end of the day, for me, that's kind of personal. Like I mean, it don't matter. Like that's my head coach. At the end of the day, we out there fighting. We out there fighting for each other. He's the coach of this football team. He fight for us. and especially myself, I take a lot of pride in, fighting for the people who fight for me. And, I feel like when they boo him, they booing all of us. So at the end of the day, hopefully they could use some of their energy for opposing offense when they get over the ball.
That was Jeffrey Simmons after yesterday's 41-20 loss by the Titans to the Indianapolis Colts. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan. We are live at the Circus Sportsbook inside the Mint Gaming Hall in Franklin, Kentucky. Brian on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, says, team is beyond help. You could fly them to Vatican City and have Pope Leo waiting with a fire engine filled with holy water, and they'd still be screwed. Team needs an exorcism. Drew in Columbia says, at this point, the only reason I'll be watching the Titans is to see if they can be involved in a scoregami. John on our text line.
By definition, a scoregami is
a score that's never happened in the NFL, like a final score that's never happened in the NFL. John from Nashville says, playoffs? You can forget about that. We may not win a game. We know, John. Just to be clear, we weren't trying to argue that the Titans could make the playoffs at 0-3. Derek was saying that you don't need my big-ass glasses to know that this team isn't making the playoffs. And I just wanted to list the teams that have, just for context. So, no, don't get that started. We're not even suggesting that. Playoffs? We're not. That's my bad Jim Mora impression. Let's see. There was one text I wanted to get to. One texter says, you keep talking about cutting the coach some slack because of the talent, but aren't he and the GM responsible for putting this team together? Now, texter, as I've said a couple of times, when we have attempted to analyze Brian Callahan and his fitness for being an NFL head coach, we have pointed to the roster a lot because this roster doesn't have much talent on it. And even the best coaches, I say, would struggle to get a lot out of this roster. The issue for Brian Callahan this season is that the issues he's having are independent of that talent. He is making
some of the issues,
some of them, but he is making some bizarre coaching decisions that aren't dependent on the talent on the roster.
But to answer his question, no, they are not responsible. The coach and the GM are not responsible for how the roster got here, not in the least, because Mike Borgonzi is new and Brian Callahan does not pick the players, and he's only been there for 2 years. It's the drafts from 2020 through 2024, 2023 for sure. 2024 is now becoming a question, but 2020 through 2023 for sure. 4 drafts where they came up basically empty. I mean, nothing. That is how they got here. And those were different GMs. 2 of them. But this is the point.
Yes.
We knew, if you're being real, the fact that they're 0-3 should not surprise you.
Correct.
If you're being realistic, what we've been telling you. It's the way it looks. We've been saying before, it's how they're not going to win, but they have to get through the season protecting Cam Ward, developing Cam Ward, and it's got to look like they're moving in the right direction. And they're hurting themselves because of these other things that they do have control of. We had a great debate last week on penalties and how much an inferior team of talent is prone to penalties. And I believe that's true. But the specific type of penalties that burn them and the game management stuff, to me, those are things that are under their control and are independent of the talent level. And that does fall back on the coach.
Yeah, the talent level, we all understand that, what it is and what it isn't. So when I'm watching the game, I understand, I'm looking at what he's calling and what he's not, what's working and what's not working. There's not much that he can put together, it seems like, especially if the offensive line is not doing what they need to do to get their quarterback into a rhythm where some of these plays you start calling start working. You have a brief moment in the game where that happens, and then it flees very fast. Fleeing fast. So it's not necessary to me. It has nothing to do with the roster when it comes to Brian Callahan. It's the decisions that you've made inside the game that have cost your team points and has given the other team or put the other team in a position to score. 2 times you have done it now. and it's been right before half. Everybody understands what happened the first time. We give you a pass on the first time, but it happens the second time. And it's not that it just happened. Your explanation was all botched up. And then the more and more I think about it, it was like, okay, Willie was right. When you're on 3rd and 2, you're down, like you're
17-6.
down. You're thinking in your head, this is a 2-play. We're gonna run this. We're gonna get it here, maybe get a yard, then we can get the other yard. But this is a 2-play thing. All right, that's one opportunity you have to make your decision. The other opportunity is when that guy on the other side of the stadium, Shane Steichen, said, "Timeout, timeout." That was another opportunity for you to make your decision. And then, you know what? Just to add some more time to it, I'm going to call a timeout. You have more time. You had about 5 minutes, and your answer was, "Oh, we were deciding." Huh? And you were deciding after 2 timeouts and after an opportunity where it was basically a timeout because we know we're going to go for it on 4th down. I'm going to call it 2 plays in 1. So you had an opportunity to figure out what that second play was, but you didn't. Then you had another opportunity, you didn't. Then you had another opportunity, you didn't. Then you said, "You know what? I'm going to kick it now." Well, why the hell didn't you kick it in the first place? Right?
The decision should have been made way before that.
Like, if he came on and he said, "I knew my kicker could make it from 61," which this kicker can. Well, if that's the case, then kick it from 57. Why hesitate? Either go for it or kick the field goal. But you cost your team 5 more yards.
Jackson on our text line says, worse rosters have won more games. The roster isn't the worst the NFL has ever seen. The issue is Callahan is continually making it harder for this team to win.
But when you throw that out there, tell me a team. Like I'm not saying he's wrong. There have been some really horrific teams, but they have played 3 pretty good teams. Do we agree? The Broncos at Mile High, the Rams, who should have won the game yesterday. They had a field goal to beat the defending champions in Philadelphia to go 3-0.
But you weren't even competitive in the Rams game. I mean,
no.
You let the Rams go up and down the field.
If I look at all the
second
national
half,
shows, who are they raving about more than any team? It's the Colts.
Yeah.
So they've played 3 good teams. So let's keep perspective there. I saw the stat about last year when they went 0-3, but they played the Bears, a bad team, the Jets, a bad team, and the Packers with
Malik Willis.
With Malik Willis quarterbacking. That's a different set of 3 teams than they just played. So I'm not sure where he's going with
Jackson.
With that.
Willie has thrown down the gauntlet, so respond. Let us know. Mike on our text line says, we have great talent. We were in 2 of the 3 games, but the play calling sucks.
They have great talent?
This team doesn't have great talent. It doesn't. Listen.
Start listing this. This is the exercise I would tell you. Start listing the best players on the Titans. Then start listing. Look, we got a really good game tonight. You've got the Ravens and the Lions.
Mm-hmm.
List the 10 best players on the Ravens and the Lions. Then list the best players on the Titans. See how it looks. Just compare and contrast. That's why get a blue book out, compare and contrast, and you tell me what you come up with.
Yeah. I mean,
are you playing any of these guys in your fantasy league? On the Titans?
Oh no. No.
Do you have any of the Titans on your fantasy team?
I don't have a fantasy team this year.
Sorry.
And even if you did,
You're lost.
I don't think you have gotten them. But this is not. The roster has some good players, and they are far and few between.
So let's name them.
There's some few players. Good players, just good players.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Simmons.
Tavondre, I think, is a good player.
Yeah, who's not played.
Who
He's
hasn't
basically
played. Yeah.
Here's the
Pollard
issue.
is a good player.
I
think
he's a good
Pollard's
player.
a good player.
Is he in your fantasy lineup?
But I'm just saying, you
league.
should know. You're saying good players. I'm not saying game changers. I'm just saying good players.
The other thing too is I and I get it because when we have these conversations, we're often thinking about the quarterback, the wide receivers, the running backs, any pass catcher. So if you have a top end, tight end, and pass rushers, right? Those are the players we're thinking of. I think the issue for the Titans,
I think you go beyond that. who are the good players on the Titans? Who are the good players at the other position?
My point is that I think the problem for the Titans is that the players who may be the quote unquote best players on the team, many of them play the unsexy positions, like Peter Skoronski. I think Peter Skoronski has had a solid season, but nobody gets excited about a guard. You know what I mean? That's the point that I'm making.
Even if you add him, you're still coming up with a list that's very short.
No, I didn't say that.
A couple of people, by the way, have noted that Joey Sly is on their fantasy teams, and if that's true,
congratulations.
He's doing pretty well.
I'd put Joey Sly on my team too.
Again, we had a thing last year at the middle of the season. We asked who's the MVP of the Titans, and Nick Folk was getting the things. This is a problem.
Well, the MVP right now should be a combination of Joey Sly and DK. Those two should be the most valuable players. Both of them play on special teams.
Let's quickly go to Tim on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHunter.com. Tim, thank you for calling. Go ahead.
Hey, guys. I enjoy the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tell you what, there's a couple things, and then I'll get off so y'all can go on. But one thing, you got a head coach that don't know the rule book. That's a damn problem. And when you've got, I'm afraid that he is going to get Cam so far messed up that Cam can't recover from it. I think Cam is a good player, but I'm afraid that he's not getting the coaching he needs.
Well, see, this is another thing that happens when you get labeled.
Yeah.
Right? For the national, the not knowing the rule. That was his own doing at the press conference where, and look, I'm not all about throwing your coworkers under the bus, but my take on that is, again, for a guy trying to call the plays and manage the game, your replay people, there are people in the booth, 2 of them, that are assigned one job. Tell me whether to review this play or not. It's got nothing to do with whether you know the rules or not. It's immaterial. But he said, I know the rule. I know that I didn't know the rule. I didn't. Blah, 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 blah. I thought you had to. And now he's labeled. And now you have a caller calling saying he doesn't know the rule, therefore he's going to screw up Cam. And the two things have nothing to do with one another. But he's got labeled.
How did
he's
Brian Callahan sound in that news conference again?
I thought you had another foot down. Foot down. Well, I know the rule. It's indecisive.
Well,
His media relations, quite honestly, are contributing to the label.
That goes to what I was saying. He seemed to be indecisive, and I'm not even making a big deal about the whole rule thing because, to me, that's neither here nor there.
Because if the guy in the booth says review the play,
exactly, I'm going to review. Yeah, so somebody upstairs should have just said review the play, whether you know the rule or not. Just review it, and then you get on camera and you just say, "Hey, listen, I chose not to review it because we thought he was out of bounds."
Or my guy in the booth said, "Don't review it,"
and so I didn't.
That's
not, you ain't even got to say, "I didn't know the rule." Well,
yeah.
you opened up. You wanted to be honest. Well, go ahead as honest, Abe. This is just what you get. They own you. Okay. There are some times where you just need to keep your mouth shut. Okay. Did nobody ask you if you knew the rule? You just told everybody.
Right.
Just keep your mouth shut. Okay. Some things don't even tell. Some things you ain't even got to lie about because you just keep your mouth shut, okay?
That's a lesson I use in my house every single day.
Just don't say nothing, okay? Don't say anything. So I'm not neither lying or telling. I'm not going to say anything, all right? Especially when you don't know. Don't say it. But he has put himself in this position. Again, if it was just strictly stuff on the field, like the players, then okay. He's been dealt a bad hand. He was behind the 8 ball at the start. Hey, he chose to take the job, though. He chose to take the job. So I'm not gonna, sit here and complain about that. But he was not equipped, I don't think. And now he may be realizing this. He was not equipped to take on this roster. I'm not saying he wouldn't be a good head coach somewhere else.
You think he needs a more ready-made roster than the one he has.
Roster, because I think that's what Vrabel benefited from.
Mm-hmm.
A more veteran roster. That roster Malarkey had and took to the playoffs.
Quite a bit better.
He benefited from that. And when that roster started to depreciate in a sense, they started losing. And injury, they started losing. He was not prepared to take on this type of roster. Maybe another roster. Yeah, maybe if he would have took this job 8 years ago when Vrabel took it, yes. But he's not ready to take on this job.
So I'm thinking about cookies because my wife made cookies last night.
Okay.
But she made
chocolate chip.
Well, they were pumpkin because tis the season, right?
Yes.
D-Mace, if you were listening to Ask D-Mace, that's his favorite dessert.
Yes.
Good chocolate chip cookie.
So my
For the record.
wife makes outstanding cookies from scratch.
Oh,
but last night she made the ready-made cookies where the dough's already done. You just pop them in the oven. Brian Callahan would have benefited from a roster that's like the ready-made cookie dough, where you just have to open the package, plop the little squares onto the baking sheet, and put them in the oven for 10
put it
minutes.
on the right temperature.
Versus having to make the dough, making the dough and everything from scratch.
Yes.
He was not ready for that. Now I'm really hungry for cookies. 615-737-1025. We will wrap up the show. Coming up next, Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025 The Game. D-Base Vingan and Donick 1025. The Game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you. DVD is now proudly presented by Bax Homeworks. Bax Homeworks transforms kitchens, bathrooms, and living spaces into places you can't wait to come home to. You can visit them online at baxhomeworks.com. Let's go to Tyler on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Tyler, thank you for calling. Please go ahead.
Hey, guys. Love the show.
Thank you.
I just want to ask a question, and that is, I need y'all and your expertise to tell me 3 games into the season, the absolute benefit, except for making everybody feel better like we're making a change, to firing a head coach. Because I'm having a hard time finding a silver lining in that. We can talk bad about it all day, all the bad calls, bad timings, no calls, shouldn't be calling calls and being a head coach at the same time. But my question is, there are interior things we can fix. What's the benefit of just absolutely letting this guy go and thinking that that's going to fix everything or just make us feel better and having a scapegoat of sorts? Because I don't feel like that is where we need to go right now. But I just want to hear what you guys say. I will shut up and listen.
Thank you, Tyler. It would be for a lot of Titans fans. We talked about this last week. For a lot of Titans fans, it would just satisfy the bloodlust, right? When a team is struggling, the fans, they are passionate. That's why they are fans, which is short for fanatic. They want somebody to pay the price. So Titans fans would get some short-term relief by knowing that Brian Callahan is no longer head coach of the Tennessee Titans. But that doesn't fix everything that has gone wrong within this organization. The front office is still there. Chad Brinker is still there. Of course, the owner is still there. Amy Adams Strunk. So firing Brian Callahan, and this was the point we were trying to make last week, before what happened on Sunday. Firing Brian Callahan offers a short-term fix for Titans fans. It gets Brian Callahan out of here. But guess what? You still got to watch the football team, and an interim coach is not going to make this team better. The issues with this organization are deep-rooted, and firing Brian Callahan is not going to fix all of them. It just provides that immediate, adrenaline rush, whatever you want to call it, of, yeah, he's gone. But after that, you have to come back to reality.
Well, it's just like anything. Because I've had this happen to me several times, when an electrician come out or someone comes out because something wrong in your house, something's broke, and they come in and they say, well, I got to do this. Well, does it fix it? No, it just stops that from happening. We ain't fixed it yet. We haven't even got to fix it, and we just need that to stop happening.
Yeah, you're treating the symptom, but not the root of the problem.
Exactly. I just need this to stop. That's what it would be. That's what it's like if you fire Brian Callahan right now. There's no benefit to it. Like I wouldn't suggest you fire him like tomorrow, or I would say get to that point after a couple of games, then you make your decision. But because it's not fixing anything, but it is stopping stuff from continuing to happen that you've seen over the course of the last what would be 7 or 8 games. So it's not necessarily that we're fixing anything. We're just stopping the continued bad coaching. That's what we're stopping. Not to think, they're going to get great coaching, from whoever they bring in as an interim.
Firing Brian Callahan would be equivalent to putting a Band-Aid on the compound fracture.
Yeah, because what would likely happen is you would promote somebody within the staff and then make another wholesale change at the end of the season, barring a way better performance after. So I think it's best to table it for a while, because I think it does center around one thing. This is the central question: is what is the best for Cam Ward? They have put all of their eggs in his basket. It is going to be a long road before they can put the type of players around him that he's going to need to succeed. Because the more I watch him, look, I think he's got a lot of good attributes. He is not a franchise-saving quarterback. He's not that good. He needs help. And right now, he is in jeopardy of being the next victim that we talk about when we do the next article on, hey, look at all these quarterbacks that were drafted high in the first round that they ruined. What's the quote that we cited a bunch of times? Organizations fail quarterbacks more than quarterbacks fail organizations. Is Cam Ward that next guy? That's what you have to do, what you can do for Cam at all costs. If that means fire Brian Callahan, if you think that's honestly the way to go, then do it, even though you know the track record with that. But I think that has got to be the question that revolves around everything you do.
One texter to that end. One texter says, if they fire Brian Callahan, then they will lose their head coach, their offensive coordinator, their
Exactly.
O-line coach, and special teams coordinator, assuming Bones is the interim coach.
That's
the
price.
How is that better?
They
How
wouldn't
is that
lose it.
better than just riding with Callahan and firing him in the
Now,
offseason?
you could make Fossil the head
Yeah,
coach.
Fossil would still retain it. Even if you make him head coach, he's still going to stay on as a special teams guy because he loves doing special teams. And that's the one area of the football team that seems to be going well, the special teams. You are right now, the Titans are on a turbulent flight, and they're just trying to trying to land this safely. And landing it safely may be, firing the head coach. Not now, somewhere down the line. I'm not, sitting here and, wanting him fired or a proponent of him being fired. But if the season doesn't start to turn around, and I'm not just talking about in wins, if this team doesn't, just looks, they need to look like an NFL team, and they need to look like as they're coached by an NFL team. If it doesn't look like that as you get into the middle of the season, then you got to try to find a safe way to land this plane, because right now there's so much stuff going in the air, and they haven't even reached. They haven't even halfway reached the destination yet.
One texter says, Merle and Mount Juliet, if the Titans can ever get a decent offensive line and a couple of edge rushers, that can get to the quarterback. They would be so much better just with the players in the secondary, and these young receivers are flashing a little. And Cam seems like he is going to be good, so just keep building, and they will get better.
Yeah,
well,
that's a couple years of drafts.
I appreciate your optimism. And that's probably a few years away. Also, multiple texters have mentioned that Alec Iamaner is on their fantasy teams and that he's done okay for them.
Okay, I see it.
Iamaner has been
pretty deep league.
He's been a bright spot.
He has been one of the lone bright spots.
He's done okay. It's okay.
He's done okay. But they need
But
more.
okay is good enough on this team. Like, he's been okay. That's great on this team.
I would be curious, honestly, if it's a fantasy league, how many teams in the league? Like 12? Because there's different fantasy leagues of depth. I'm just looking at where does, because it goes down to this question: where does Iamaner rank among the best receivers in the game? Like, I think he's good.
He's good.
He's got a chance to be a good player. Yeah. Like Pollard is a good player. And by the way, I admire the heck out of Tony Pollard. They are asking him to stay in and block guys about twice his size. He will stick his nose in there and try to protect his quarterback, even though it's crumbling around him. He doesn't get to go out for passes very often. Then he finally does, and they pick it off for the touchdown. But he is a pro's pro. So hats off to Tony Pollard. They don't have Spears.
Yeah.
He's having to play more.
They're missing Spears. And and tomorrow I need to make sure that I do this. I need to have a sort of a nice, I don't know, put together for Calvin Ridley.
We're going to talk Calvin Ridley tomorrow.
It's just he's been the disappointment for me. He's been truly the disappointment.
And understandably so. When you are the number one receiver, you need to catch the damn ball.
Yes.
But
so we're going to talk about him tomorrow.
Yes. It's different coming from the all-pro receiver versus me. So take it from Derek. But that'll do it for us today. If you're looking to watch Monday Night Football, come on up to the Circus Sportsbook inside the Mint Gaming Hall here in Franklin, Kentucky. You can also find out more details on how to win a trip to Las Vegas to watch the Titans play the Raiders, or just go on the trip and not go to the game. But go to the game if you're going to win the trip. And you can only win the trip if you come up here to the Circus Sportsbook inside the Mint Gaming Hall in Franklin, Kentucky. Tomorrow, we will be back in Nashville, live at Bridgestone Arena. Predators preseason action. But until 3 o'clock tomorrow, we hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Be loved. Love your people. Be safe. Y'all hear that music? Don't forget about us, okay? Do not forget about us, all right? I love you. We love you as a show. Peace.